The VO Meter. Measuring your voiceover progress. The VO Meter is brought to you by VoiceActorWebsites.com, Vocal Booth To Go, PodcastDemos.com, Global Voice Acting Academy, and IPDTL. And now, your hosts, Paul Stefano and Sean Daly.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the sneak peek of our upcoming episode on the VO Meter. We have decided, because of the embarrassment of riches we have of great guests and speakers, to bring you the interview portion in a sneak peek format before we release the full episode each month. Hopefully, it will give you an idea of what's to come in the new episode and whet your appetite, so to speak. So, without further ado, here's a sneak peek of our interview with voice actors and founders of the VO Weekly Workout, Brad Venable and Tim Friedlander. Well, Tim, you talked about your workouts having the phone be checked at the door. You're talking about the in-person workouts at your studio, Soundbox LA, right? Let's talk a little bit about that. How did you start the studio, and what kinds of work do you do there?
I started this place in direct response to the fact that I had no idea what the heck I was doing, and I was failing at voiceover. And, I basically am a great example of how to do everything wrong. Get a demo. Make a demo made. Good, I'm done. Move to L.A. Great. Send out to agents. Great, nobody picked me up. Okay, great, I got an agent. Well, let me take another year. In a year, I'll send out that. And then in this year, I'm not going to study voiceover for that year. And let me take another couple of years off from voiceover. And then I'll go out and try and get an agent. And then I'm going to wonder why the agents don't want to listen to what I'm doing, because I don't sound like me. And let's just isolate yourself and not talk to anybody and not know anything. And part of that is the fact that it's as overwhelming as it is. You pick up the voiceover resource guide or look for a list of coaches. There's 3, 4, 5 pages of coaches. They all look the same. I can't tell the difference between one coach or another. If you don't know anybody, don't have anybody to ask, don't have anybody to hear feedback on, you don't know. It's like, here, let me pick. I can't afford to go to every university I want to go to find out which one I like. Exactly. So then you just don't go to any of them. So I didn't coach with anybody. I didn't study with anybody. I didn't train with anybody. I would send out demos once a year and then wonder why I didn't hear back from anybody. So, talk about being passive. I was doing all the wrong things. And, I was hours away from quitting voiceover, and I decided to get out of bed and go to Voice 2014. And there I met a bunch of people who were, as I say, failing the way that I was failing. And all of a sudden I was like, well, wow. So I'm not an outlier here. I'm not completely, lost in what I'm doing. And I have a great opportunity. I have the space. So why don't I invite some people over, and we can all just kind of learn about voiceover together, and we can maybe all fail together. And from there, it kind of became a place that I kind of have built around the community. The studio was never supposed to be public. It was supposed to be just a place where I, do music and where I practice, and people came over and they needed opportunities, or they needed a place to record. Well, here, let me come over. You need this mic. Well, okay, I'll have this mic for you next time you come over. And I guess you need this, and we need this kind of connection. Oh, you need ISDN. Well, let me look into ISDN and see about this. And it kind of grew around the needs of the community. And it kind of became just, I had a place, and I wanted to share it with people and not keep it to myself. And it's grown into something way beyond anything I had ever thought it would be. And we actually, kind of opened 2 satellite studios earlier this year, one in Studio City and one in Sherman Oaks. Where we're going to start, possibility of offering workout groups at those locations as well at some point. I do 3 workout groups a week most of the time, 2 that I run myself and 1 that Jay Preston and I run together. And I don't advertise, it's all word of mouth. And I just try and give people a place that feels safe and comfortable, and you can come in and do the best work that you can do because it feels like being at home.
That's amazing. So I'm sure Brad will agree with me on this. And we were just talking about how amazingly just generous and kind voiceover people are. Well, I feel like Tim is an exceptionally kind VO person, like just a cut above, because of all, just this idea, like you're incredibly community minded, and you're always thinking like, I don't need all of this stuff, but someone else does, and I would like to provide it. It's amazing. Yep. Like, I mean, I even saw a post recently. He's like, I'm out of town this week. Anyone need my studios? Keys are in the box. Yep. Like, it's amazing.
Yep.
Yep. The man does yeoman's work. I mean, to use an antiquated term, but still, I mean, you know, it's just so wonderful to know that whole story of this being the most wonderful industry and everything. I think some people, they only scratch the surface when they understand that to a degree, because we circle the wagons and we take care of our own. I mean, I don't know of any industry, especially an artistic one, where a person gets an audition and goes, you know what, this is not for me, but I know 2 other people that would be great for this.
I do that all the time. I've actually walked people to my agent. Well, I say walk, not physically, but just last week there was one where I said, I have a colleague who would be better at this than me. You want to hear from him and maybe sign him? And they were like, yeah. So we did it.
Yep.
Brilliant. And I honestly, guys, thank you both so much. I mean, it's not just about what you are getting out, what you put in, but I mean, you guys have given so much to the community and continue to do so on a daily, weekly basis.
Just to circle back to the workout, the weekly workout, Brad, what was something that surprised you from one of those weekly workouts, either from the presenter or the guest director or from a submission?
Oh, I'll tell you what's been surprising, and it shouldn't be surprising. That's the funny part, is I should have seen this. We should have all collectively seen it coming, but there is so much varied types and level of verbosity, if you will, of feedback that you get. Because some of our most wonderful, great coaches that we've gotten wonderful relationships with over the years, they'll sit back and they'll record live, like what we're doing here for the podcast. They'll record an audio version of what they have to say to any person that participates in the workout. Then there are others who are extremely concise and waste no words. And then there are others who type long, huge, this is specifically what you did that I did like, what you didn't like, and here's how to improve it. And what's been the greatest thing, the greatest gift, I think, out of all of this, in all that variance of the kind of feedback that they have provided, is the insight into the industry as a whole. The fact that there are people whose whole, reason of existence is to give feedback and lift others up and push them push them further in their careers and make them better actors. Then there are some who is like, I am a business person and I'm going to give it to you straight, and I'm going to give it to you in a way that you may not like, but you're going to hear something that you need to be more self-aware of. And then there are those who, somewhere in between. I mean, that's an interesting bell curve as to how it all plots out. But that is something I think is a microcosm of the entire industry. And that has been the most surprising thing for me, is to see it actually unfold. Just have it taking place like that. It's been great. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Like I was mentioning before, just like working through Global Voice Acting Academy and all the coaches I've worked with and meeting you guys at conferences and stuff like that, you get like, you're removing yourself from that box, right? And like you're no longer in isolation. You find out what, like, you hear from people, like, straight from the horse's mouth, what is hiring, what people want, what is the popular sound. So you're able to provide it, ideally, because you're listening and you're you're just learning as much about what they want as you can.
The one thing that I really want people to take away from what both Tim and I and Jay together do versus what we do individually is we're always trying to lift everybody. We really are. I mean, it's not like it's we're trying to do it to have people have high opinions of us or anything. It's just that this is what this industry needs, because we have seen corporate entities come in and just waylay the industry and try to literally, quote unquote, take over the world. I mean, it's like a real live version of Pinky and the Brain some days, and that's not necessarily a good thing. So we just want to make sure that, we realize that we in Los Angeles have a glut of wonderful coaches and agents and casting people that we all call friends, and we want them to know people that may not have that opportunity elsewhere. And I think that has been one thing, like between weekly workout and between my old friends in Dallas who have been starting to poke the bear of Los Angeles and providing them an air mattress in my studio has been something I just want to make sure anyone knows that, when they come in from out of town, they generally, if they know me at all, then they have a place to stay with me. And it's been great to see some of the projects that have actually been shown to be going live this week. Something that, one of my friends did, she just announced this week. And I remember a year ago when she was hanging out with us, my wife and I here, and staying in our second bedroom, which is the studio. And now all of a sudden, here's this thing that she was working on a year ago that's now seeing the light of day. And I'm just sitting there just like shaking my head. It's weird how this all we're like, oh my gosh, how does this all come together? And it just makes us feel like a giant spider web that we're all interconnected in some way. And I just want to make sure that we do whatever we can to make this industry a better place and not a worse one at all.
Well, you guys are certainly putting a Herculean effort forth in that regard. I mean, honestly,
one of us is for sure. Tim is doing that.
You're all great, but honestly, guys, like I feel like you're definitely kindred spirits. I love I'm so happy to hear you, and you can hear the joy in your voice from recounting people you've worked with succeed and excel, and
yeah.
It's amazing. He's tearing up on me now, big softy. But I mean, honestly, I've felt for a long time that the biggest tool we have in maintaining and hopefully improving the voiceover industry is education. And you guys are providing that in spades, and you're really bettering your part of the voiceover world. So thank you both so much, or thank you, all of you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the VO Meter. To follow along, visit us at www.vometer.com. VO Meter is powered by IPDTL.